Hello and welcome to this lecture. So in this lecture we will actually go ahead and set up Django REST framework for our project. So essentially we will go ahead and download Django REST framework and we will set up a Django project in which we are actually going to build a model and we are going to use that model to build our API. So the very first thing which you need to do is that you need to open up the command prompt if you're on Windows, and if you're on Mac you actually need to open up the terminal. And here, in order to install Django REST framework, you simply need to type in a command which is pip install Django REST framework. Now in my case I'm actually having Python 2 as well as Python 3 installed on my machine, and hence I'm going to type in pip3 install, that's going to be Django REST framework. So now once I go ahead and hit enter, Django REST framework is going to be installed for me. Now as I already have Django REST framework, it says requirement already satisfied. Now in your case you just need to type in pip install Django REST framework. Now once we have the Django REST framework, let's go ahead and create a Django project. So in order to create a Django project, first of all I'll create a folder here and let's name this folder as DRF, which is Django REST framework. And now we can open up some code editor like Visual Studio Code and start actually making a project over here. So let's open up Visual Studio Code and let's open up the DRF folder right over here. And now what we will do is that we will open up the terminal back again and let's navigate down to the DRF folder. So that's going to be cd desktop/DRF. And now once we are here, let's go ahead and create a Django project. So in order to create a project, I'll type in Django-admin start project, and let's say we name this project as my site. So here what we are doing essentially is that we are going to create a regular Django project. We are going to have a Django app into that, and into that app we are actually going to have a model, as we are building an API which provides information related to movies. So that model is going to have information about movies like the name, duration, rating, so on and so forth. Then we are going to add some dummy data into that particular database, and then we are going to build an API using the Django REST framework. So once we have our project, let's cd into the project. So I'll type in cd, that's going to be my site, and now let's create an app here. So that's going to be Django admin start app, and let's say we name this app as movies. So once we are done with that, we now have a project and an app. So if you go to the DRF folder, here you have my site, we have the movies app, and we have the my site directory as well. So now once you have this project set up, whenever you want to use Django REST framework in your Django project, you first need to go ahead, go to the settings.py file, and in here you actually need to go ahead and add rest_framework in the installed apps. So let's go ahead and type in rest_framework. So that means our Django project now knows that it's using REST framework. And also, as we have created the app which is movies, so you need to type in movies.apps. And if you go to the apps.py, we have movies config over here. So you need to type in movies config right over here. So once you do that, you're pretty much done setting up your project. So now once we have the project, let's now go ahead and without wasting any time, let's directly build a model here. So let's go ahead and create a model which is going to hold data of a movie. So we'll type in class and let's name this model as movie data, as it's going to hold movie data, and then it's going to inherit from models.model. And now let's go ahead and add in a few fields here. So the first field is going to be the name of the movie. So I'll type in name, and that's going to be a character field. So I'll type in models.car field. Now let's set the max length and let's set it up to 200. And now let's go ahead and add another field For a movie data, you can have the rating of a movie, the duration of a movie, so on and so forth. So let's actually go ahead and set up the duration. So I'll type in duration, and the duration of a movie can be something like 1.5 hours, 1.2 hours, so on and so forth. So we'll actually go ahead and use a float field here for this field. So I'll type in model.float field, which allows us to add floating point numbers for this particular field. And let's do the same thing for the rating as well. So I'll type in rating equals model.float field. So that should actually be float. So that was actually a typo. Okay, so once we are done with that, we are pretty much done setting up the model, which is movie data. And this should actually be models, not model. Okay, so now once we are done with this, we are pretty much done setting up the movie data model. Now let's go ahead and make migrations so that Django creates a table out of this model. So let's switch back to the terminal here. And now in order to make migrations, let's type in Python 3 manage.py, make migrations, hit enter. Then let's type in Python 3 manage.py will migrate. That's going to be movies 0001. And now let's finally type in Python 3 manage.py migrate. And once we are done with that, our model is now successfully converted into a database table. So now once we have that database table, we can now go ahead and add data to this particular model. But in order to add that, we need to go ahead and create a form. Then you need to accept the information, you need to submit the form, so on and so forth. And hence, in order to avoid that, what we will do for now is that we will actually go ahead and instead of creating a form, we'll actually go ahead and we will create a super user. So let's go ahead and create a super user. So let's type in Python 3 manage.py create super user. I will actually leave my name to my name itself. I'll add a dummy email address over here. The password is going to be super user. Okay, so now once the super user is created, let's go ahead and fire up the server and add some data via the admin panel. So let's type in Python 3 manage.py run server. And once the server is up and running, let's copy the URL. Let me open up a browser window and let's go to this address. Now let's go to admin. So /admin. Let me type my username here. And now as you can see, we don't have that model here. So in order to add that model, you need to go to admin.py, import the model. So we'll type in from .models, that's going to be import movie data. And then you need to register this model by typing in admin.site.register. And let's type in movie data over here. So once we do that, now we should be able to see that model over here. Now if I click that, as you can see currently we don't have any data here. So I'll go ahead and add movie data. So let's say the movie name is going to be something like my movie. Let's say the duration is 2 hours and let's say the rating is 4.7. So when I go ahead and click on save, as you can see, one movie is actually added over here, but the representation here says movie data object, and that's because we actually need to change the string representation right over here in the models. So if you go over here and if you type in def_str, pass in self as a parameter, and as a string representation, let's say we want to display the movie's name. So you can type here return self.name. So now instead of having this movie data object, now we will have a string representation which is nothing but the name of the movie. So when I go ahead and hit refresh, as you can see, it says my movie over here. So that means we have successfully created a movie data model. We have added a movie over here as well. That means we have some kind of data to work with. Now we can actually go ahead and start creating an API to actually display this data or share this data via an API. So in the upcoming lecture, what we will do is that we will learn what exactly is serialization and how we are going to serialize this particular model so that we can display its data via an API. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.